Hey, it's me, MLB. I'm back with another Demon Slayer one-shot. This is the one and only flashy, flamboyant man, Tengen Uzui. You guys have no idea how long I've been waiting to do a one-shot for this man right here. So I hope you enjoy it. Without further ado, let's get to it. This is the one, Uzui Tengen, ex-female listener. Enjoy. It was a peaceful day in the village. Too peaceful. Something was off, but it seemed like you were the only one that could feel it, since everyone else was just going about their daily business, completely unaware of the unease in the area. "Where's Mother?" you asked your brother while he was rolling out wet scrolls to parch them in the sun. "Down at the river, washing clothes," he said without looking at you. You nodded and then headed off, following the path that took you directly down to the river. All was quiet as you followed the track down. No birds sung, no animals stirred, and the further you got from the village, the more uneasy you became. Thinking that it might be best to keep your knife on you in case something jumped out at you, you pulled it free of its sheath and held it in hand, swishing it back and forth a few times for good measure as you moved along. Deeper into the forest you walked, looking all around you. But the more you looked, the less you saw. It was still eerily silent. You were now halfway between the village and the river, the most dangerous place to be in if you were attacked, since it was far less likely for you to be heard at that point, so you started to speed up a little to get through that section as quickly as possible. Suddenly from your left, a barrage of throwing knives shot at you and you jumped, knowing your vertical jump would be able to clear them. But the one who threw them must have held some back, because as you cleared the first lot that were hurled at you, a second round came at you as you landed, and two of them collected your shirt and pinned you to the tree beside you. "Who are you? Show yourself!" you shouted into the dense forest, your query being replied by the sudden appearance of a muscular man who landed right before you. "It's been a while, Yim," he said with a smirk, the jewels across his flashy headband glinting in the dabbled light that shimmered across the forest floor. "Uzui," you growled with a scowl. "Haven't I already asked you to call me Tengen?" he asked as he stalked slowly towards you, and then quickly disarmed you, tossing your knife out of reach. "Can you get rid of that old thing? It's not very flashy at all." "Why are you here?" you growled at him, gritting your teeth when he tenderly placed a finger under your chin and tilted your head up so he could look deep into your eyes. "You know why I'm here," he said lowly, dropping that flashy bravado for a second to let his real feelings show through his words. Your heart started racing. "You left me," you replied lowly, venom dripping from your words. "I was always going to come back, I told you that," he replied, still holding your gaze. "I found another," you lied, staring him dead in the eye. "Lying is very unflashy," he replied back at lightning speed. He hadn't believed you for a second. "Where are they then?" you asked sassily. "They're waiting for you. They've been asking about you," he replied. "Are you going to keep us all waiting?" "Yes, now get lost. I'm done with you," you snarled, ripping your gaze away from his and ripping your shirt to get away from him, sprinting in the direction that he had thrown your knife. Thankfully it had landed in a clearing, and you found it easily, picking it up and spinning around, but he was coming after you, so you only just had time to duck as he grabbed for you and missed. "Take no for an answer," you shouted at him, spinning around and trying to kick him in the backside, but he already had both of your wrists together in his large hand and had lifted you off the ground. "If you beat me in a fight, then I'll let you go, and I'll stop pursuing you, and I won't force you to be my fourth wife," he said earnestly, as he held you with arm outstretched, your feet dangling above the ground. "Go to hell, Uzui," you snapped. "That's exactly where I'm going," he said as he opened his hand and dropped you down. You took no hesitation in lunging at him, knife first, but the next second you were thrown up over his shoulder while being disarmed again, and your backside firmly slapped. "I remember this," he said as he gave your booty a good squeeze in his hand, and then one more firm slap. "Used to sneak out with you and head down to the river. Your backside jiggled a lot more when you weren't wearing clothes." "Uzui, cut it out! Those days are over!" you shouted, kicking and hitting at his back to get him to put you down again. "Do you surrender yet?" he asked. "My feelings towards you have never changed. They're still as flashy as ever." "Well, mine have changed, so put me down!" you shouted again. "We both know that's not true," he replied calmly, as he put you back down on the ground. You threw one punch at him, but he easily dodged it, so in a fit of disappointment and sadness you turned and fled. But you didn't get very far, because suddenly you were engulfed in a hug from behind, and you and he tumbled to the ground, rolling over and over each other until you finally came to a stop, with you pinning him under your body. "I hate you!" you screamed at him, hot tears suddenly cascading down your face. "You chose them over me, and you left me!" "I was only allowed to take 3 wives, but I promised you I'd come back for you and steal you away," he replied earnestly. "I'm a flashy guy. I don't do things in the quiet anymore. But for you, to sneak you away and keep you for myself, I'd do anything. Why wasn't I one of the ones you chose? You cried. You could have picked me over one of the others. You're the most difficult to obtain, he replied. There was so much pressure. I couldn't handle it. You think I'm perfect? I'm not perfect, but I want you. I need you with me. I couldn't stop thinking about you, he begged. Yin, look at me. Without you, I'm nothing. He grabbed your arms and shook you a little so you'd stop crying and look at him. His eyes were clear and true. You knew this had been hard on him as well, but still you were hurt. I don't want to get left behind. Whenever you have to make a decision, you said numbly, tears still sliding down your cheeks. He'll always pick them over me. Not true, he replied with a shake of his head. From now on, you're mine, and you're staying by my side. I refuse, you said firmly. This was a test. You wanted to see if he'd really give up on you, or would he fight for you till the very end. Silently, he let go of your arms and lay his hands by his side. You started to worry, thinking he was giving up already and that was it. Although you never said any of this, your body language was giving you away, and he could tell that deep down you really did still want to be with him. Punch me, he said finally. What? You asked. Punch me, kick me. Do all you need to do to get it out of your system, and then come with me, he said, laying there under you. I told you I'm not coming with you, you replied with defiance. Punch me then, he said. I don't want to. I'm just going to go, you said as you got up and started to walk away. You didn't look back. You didn't hear any sound, and the further you walked away, the more you thought that he had just up and disappeared as quickly as he had come. Discreetly you stole a look back from the corner of your eye and saw that he had gone. Your heart sank. I knew he'd vanish again, you thought as you turned your head back and ran straight into Uzui, who was standing right there in front of you. You looked back, he commented. Shut up, I didn't, you snapped, rearing your fist back and then punching him square in the ribs. You used to do that to me after we'd been skinny dipping down the river at night, he said in a teasing voice. Punch me in my bare ribs. You grunted and went to punch him again, but suddenly he had you off the ground again. He had tossed you up and then caught you in his arms, bridal style. It suits you to be in my arms, flashy position, he smirked down at you. Pull me down, you yelled, fighting to get out of his arms. He put you down and you turned and ran, so he gave chase, keeping behind you but not catching up nor falling back. When will you give up? You called back to him. Never, I don't give up, he replied. I want you and that's final. You were now running so hard that you didn't realise that you were headed straight for the drop, a small-scale cliff that dropped off into the river, and instead of pulling up when you realised where you were, you took 2 more running steps and then threw yourself from the top, with Uzui jumping as well and catching you mid-air, and then spinning and landing back first in the water to break your fall. Are you crazy? You shouted at him the second your mouth broke the surface of the water. I'll do anything for you, he replied, pushing his bejewelled headband up and out of the way so he could see you through his sodden fringe while he treaded water. Come with me, Yin. Enough games. I'm scared, you said sadly. There's no need, he replied. What if you leave me? You asked. I never will, he replied. I missed you, you finally admitted, your tears mingling with the river water as it ran from your sodden hair down your face. He swam over to you and engulfed you in a hug, his massive arms dwarfing you as he found footing on the rocks at the bottom of the river. The next second you were kissing passionately, exactly how you used to all those years ago when you were teens messing about. I'll take you now. We'll go. Get out of here. They don't care about you like I do, he replied, still holding you in his arms. We'll be our own little flashy family. You sniffed and nodded slowly. You don't need to say anything. Let's go, he said as he walked out of the water, still carrying you in his arms. Later that afternoon, your mum came to find your brother. Have you seen Yin? She asked him. I sent her down to the river earlier today because she was asking where you were, he replied. Your mum hummed. She never came to the river. She turned away from him and walked into the house, heading to your room to see if you were there, but your room was empty. She was about to leave when she spied a solitary jewel sitting on your pillow. Curiously, she walked over and picked it up, turning it over in her hand, as she thought. Then a wry smile pulled at her lips when she finally realised whose it was. Ah, so you came to get her after all, you sly devil, she chuckled to herself. Yin, my girl, you finally got your wish. And there it is for the flashy man himself. There ends another Demon Slayer one-shot. Stay tuned for next week. There will be another one. I'll see you then.